Hey guys, so I have my October reading wrap up and I was kind of dragging my feet in making this video because honestly, I had a lot of disappointing reads in the month of October. I think I only had like 2 4-star reads and I read 9 books in total. So pretty much everything was 3 or 3.5 stars. So overall, not the best reading month, but let's just get into it. So starting at the bottom, as per usual, I have a few 3-star reads here. And the first 3-star read I have, unfortunately, is Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lapina. This is like a thriller mystery with this very wealthy family, and the 2 parents are found dead the day after Easter, and it's assumed that it's one of the older children because there's been a lot of drama in the family and just everything isn't what it seems. But I found this book was just pretty boring. I feel like there weren't any really big things that happened. Like there were constant revelations, but everything just seemed predictable, and I just ended up not really enjoying it as a thriller. My next 3-star read, I'm actually going to share the whole series here. I downloaded the Maid series by Daniel Laurie. This is a dark mafia romance series, and I got Kindle Unlimited for the month basically just so I could read the series. And I asked my friends if they wanted to read the series with me because it's not something I normally read, and they were all for it. So I'll have to say I loved reading it with them. Like that made these books so much better to me, but on their own I didn't like super enjoy them. The first book I gave 3 stars, and that's The Sweetest Oblivion. These are all, like I said, dark mafia romances, and the first one is about this daughter of this mafia lord guy. I don't know what they're called, even though I read all of these books. And her sister is getting married to another like mafia king from a different family. Basically it's an arranged marriage, and she ends up catching feelings for the fiance. So it's like their romance story. It was definitely kept me reading, but it was just kind of meant okay. It definitely was darker than I was expecting. This one was the least dark of them all, so it eased you into the series slowly, but it still was a lot darker than what I'm used to, like with people just like getting killed and shot like in a random scene and like life moves on. It was just a little strange. The second book in the series was my favorite of the series, Maddest Obsession. So this one was darker than the first. As I said, they definitely get darker. What I liked more about the second was the romance just felt more angsty, and it felt like it was more worth it in the end because it spanned years, and there was this constant tension between the 2 main characters. And the guy is really twisted and dark, but he's an FBI agent that like works for the mafia too. So really interesting element, and I was just addicted to this story. Like I really had trouble putting it down. I read it pretty much like in a day, even though it was pretty long, but just I kind of just got hooked on this one. So the third book in the series, I liked it, I think, a little tiny bit more than the first one, only just because it was more interesting, but it was definitely darker. The third one takes place in Russia, and it's like a very dark Beauty and the Beast. So this girl is like a daughter to like a mafia guy, and she's lived her whole life and she doesn't really even know that, and so she's like uncovering this whole thing. But she gets kidnapped in Russia, and it's like the guy, she's being like held for ransom for her father, and there were just so many dark and twisted things that happened in this book that I just thought, I don't know how I'm gonna ever get past this. Like I don't think I'm ever gonna like it. Like this romance is disgusting to me because of everything that it was based on. And I ended up like liking it a little bit more. Like the second half was a lot better for me than the first, but overall I still was like, I can't believe that I read that. So yeah, that was that series. Would I recommend it? I couldn't tell you. If you like dark mafia romances, then sure. I read it because it was like all over TikTok and I just was curious about it, but I'm gonna go back to like my happy, sweet romances. My next 3-star read was To Love Jasonthorne by Ella Mays. This one I thought I was really gonna love because this author wrote Marriage for One, which was such a good romance. I really loved it. This one was a big letdown for me. It was just a very average romance, and it's not even one that I would necessarily recommend. The main character has been in love with her brother's best friend like growing up, and years have passed, they're now adults, and she's written this very popular romance novel that's getting turned into a movie, and he is a famous actor, and he gets cast to be the main character in her book to movie. So they end up working together and reconnecting as adults, and it just, I don't know, like there was something missing from the romance and the characters themselves that I just like didn't end up caring about what was happening. And there were also these side characters and side plots that I felt like it didn't work with the story, and overall it was just a bit of a disappointment. I read it really quickly, but I wasn't super in love with this one, honestly. The next one is another thriller by Sherry Lapina, and that's The Couple Next Door. So I give this one 3.5 stars. I liked it marginally better than the other book I read by her. It was about this young couple whose baby has gone missing. They were at a dinner party at their friend's house next door, and the baby was sleeping at their home, and they came back from the party and the baby was gone, and suspicion is put on the mother and father, obviously, as like the first people that they're ruling out as like being the kidnappers or whichever. So it was a little more interesting. I just feel like there's something missing from these thrillers. Like there's just, I don't know what it was, but I just felt like there could have been more. Like it has such a dark premise, like a child has gone missing, and it still like didn't feel, I don't know, like real. I don't know. Anyway, I know a lot of people I think like this book, and I didn't hate it. It just, I've read better thrillers. My next 3.5 star read is If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This one is definitely like my favorite 3.5 star read of this video. It is a bachelor style romance, and I read this right after I finished watching Bachelor in Paradise, so the timing was perfect for me. So Cindy, I think is her name, is basically like she's Cinderella, so I think her name was Cindy in the book, but she's a plus size woman, and she's like the first plus size woman to go on The Bachelor. Because it's all about the show and the main lead is dating other women, it just like there wasn't enough romance there. It was more just like there was romance, but it was about a lot more than just like a romance between them, because she's also on the show with, and she's a designer, and so it's exploring that aspect and like her family stuff and the other girls on the show. So it was good. I don't know if I would classify it as a romance, but it kind of took a backseat to the rest of the plot.
This is Editing Kelsey here to say that I also read the X Hex, and I actually really enjoyed this one. It was super cute, especially for Halloween. I don't really know if I would read this outside of the season, because I think what made this so great was that I read it like in the week leading up to Halloween. It's a cute little witchy romance, and it was just fun for the season. So I liked this one, but I don't know, like I said, if I would read it outside of the month of October.
My last read of the month is like a 4-star read, which I think I rounded up. Like honestly, this is probably more between a 3.5 and a 4-star read. It's The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This is the 3rd book I read by her. It's another cute, sweet, super quick to read romance, and it's like an unrequited they're best friends but she loves him situation. He is now a famous football player. They're adults. She's been in love with him since they were in high school, really, and she's a ballerina, and they just have this best friends turning to lovers scenario as they are doing this fake dating thing for a little bit. It was cute. I enjoyed it, but I don't know what is going on with me, but I feel like there was still something missing from the romance, and I felt like there could have been a lot more tension and buildup and angst, because they'd been in love with each other for so long without sharing that they were in love with each other for so long. So I felt like there was just something missing that really could have been done a lot more with, if that makes sense. The ending though was super good. Like I love the ending. I super enjoyed the story. I felt like I needed a little bit more angst or pining or like something like that, and I just felt like I didn't get that necessarily. But still a good one. Like out of this whole list, that's probably the book that I would recommend. So that's gonna wrap up October. Slightly disappointing, but you know, some months are like that. November is already shaping up to be a much better reading month, so I'm super excited about that. But I'm gonna end this video now. Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading.